Hello and welcome back to Dan versus Willow. We're doing back-to-back episodes this week just so I could sort out how this channel is going to go. It's going to go anti-post bets and then the betting heat. I want to start off by thanking you guys for the support on the first video. It went down really well. And I'd also like to thank Jake Price as well for the fantastic overlay you will see around us. That will be getting a lot of views throughout this series. So big thank you for that. We're going to kick off this episode with some questions from you guys. I asked on Twitter, so if you don't follow me already, @RacingWillow, and I asked the questions a few days prior to making the video. So the first question comes from Ian Pollard, and he would like to know, if we were Willie Mullins, what would we be doing with his mares at the festival? I think the main two are Concertista and Benie, Dieux, so we'll focus primarily on those two. I suppose we'll start with Concertista. Dan, where would you be sending her?
Well, I think it's probably going to be the mare's hurdle, really. I think that seems the clear target. Trying to predict what Willie Mullins does at all is difficult, but the mares this year seem to be even more tricky. It's just a variety of them. So I'd go mares with Concertista, and I think you can throw Burning Victory in there as well. Last year's Triumph winner. I imagine she'll go here.
Yeah, completely forgot about Burning Victory. We haven't seen her since, have we?
No. But from what I last read, the mare's hurdle was the target. So
I would agree with you. I would agree with you. I'd be sending Concertista to the mares. For all that I don't think she'll win it, I'm pretty sweet on Honeysuckle for that, if I'm honest with you. But yeah, wouldn't be the biggest fan of Concertista myself at the moment. I don't really think she's beaten much. And Benie Dieux is the other one. Obviously, beat Apple's Jade at quite big odds and has failed to redo that in 2 attempts at Cheltenham. I personally think that she had wiped the floor with the Stayers hurdle. I think her win in the Galmoy hurdle last year was really impressive, and maybe she just lacks the speed of someone like Concertista and Honeysuckle. So I think the Stayers hurdle would be her bag. What about yourself?
Yeah, I'm surprisingly going to agree with you, actually. Not in the sense that she'd wipe the floor with them. I think this is going to be quite a competitive renewal, the Stayers hurdle. But I think she's now starting to show signs that 3 miles is probably her trip. She won over that kind of trip before. There's obviously the option as well to go chasing with her to the mare's chase. I'm just not sure they'll go and risk her over fences again. She hasn't been the easiest to keep sound by all accounts, and there are other options for her, and probably for her longevity, I imagine they might just stick to hurdles. And they've got also Cole Reevy to go for the mare's chase, who's probably heads the market at the moment anyway. So I'd say Concertista, Burning Victory, mare's hurdle, Benie Dieux, Stayers hurdle, and Cole Reevy goes to the mare's chase. And there's probably a couple others that I'm missing.
That is a tick from me as well. I agree with you on all 4 of those. The next question comes from Ross Miller, and he wants to know, where would we put the Kettle on? Would that be the Champion Chase, Mare's Chase, Ryanair, or wherever we'd go? I think this horse is tailor-made for the Mare's Chase. I think if you believe that beating Desdrenivas by a length in that race round Cheltenham is proper Champion Chase form, then you've got to give your head a wobble. I think she stays the trip really well, but I think she'd stay 2 mile 4 furlongs a lot better. Fair play for Henry de Bromhead for having a go at it, but I don't think she's going to be winning a Champion Chase, and I think she'd have a much better chance in a Mare's Chase. What's your thoughts, Dan?
I would agree with the concept that she has a better chance in the mare's chase, but I think if your connections, and I was trying to put my mindset of the connections, she's a 7-year-old mare who's 3-3 at Cheltenham at over 2 miles. The mare's chase is going to be there in the future. I think this is the year if you're going to go for it to go have a go at the Champion Chase. I don't think she's good enough to win it. I think there's going to be a couple too classy for her. Chacun pour soi, put her in her place last time out, although I do think the track will put the Kettle on a bit more at Cheltenham. I just think they should go for it. She's already proven so many people wrong. She's defied all expectations. 1 shot at the Champion Chase. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. Go for the mare's chase next season. But if it does, then it'll be a masterstroke in the end. I just think go for glory this time.
I suppose if I was an owner of the horse, the way you put it that way, I would most probably be then pushing towards the Champion Chase. I thought from perspective of what would be her best chance of winning a race. That's how I took the question. And yeah, that'd be the mare's chase for me. The next question is from Harry Haskell, and he would like to know, from the big 3, without the big 3 in the market, what would be our picks for the Arkle, Marsh, and RSA Chase? If I'm honest with you, I'm not going to give you my pick for the Arkle just yet because I do quite fancy one and he will possibly be my selection next week. So I'm going to hold my cards close to my chest. Dan, who's going to be yours for the Arkle?
Well, this one might look either really good or really bad in a 24 hours time because he runs tomorrow and it's Energamine for Willie Mullins. He looked a natural chaser last time out. There's always been a lingering doubt over what trip he's going to go over. He won over 2.5 miles last time out, didn't look short of speed and wasn't stopping. They're going back over 2 miles tomorrow. As you're recording this on Tuesday night for hindsight. And yeah, he's a really interesting type, and I can see him being Willie Mullins' lead hope in the Arkle, and a race he has a phenomenal record in.
The next race will be the Marsh. Who would be your pick for the Marsh?
A bit of a tougher one, not such a strong opinion, but I was impressed with Allard and what he did on debut. He isn't incredible form, albeit a great two. Fiddler on the roof was second. I mean, he's a fairly solid yardstick, albeit he hasn't been phenomenal this season. But to do what he did was pretty impressive, and he was always going to be the type to improve over fences. And I think at this moment he would be my alternative.
My alternative to take on Environment would be the big getaway, not to be mixed up with the big breakaway. He always looked like he'd make a smashing chaser. Now, I'd forget his chasing debut. Paul Townend reported that he stopped quickly and he put that firmly the opposite way on his next run when he demolished a field by about 10 lengths. At this point, he's most probably the danger to Environment, for all that I think Environment still streets clear of him. And the RSA is the other race. And I quite like Next Destination. I was a big fan of this horse as a hurdler. He had form that tied him with Doughterwork and Sam Crow. He did win a grade 2 on his chasing debut, although that form is quite flimsy. He's set to run this weekend, so that will give us a better idea of where he's at. But yeah, Next Destination at this point for me. Who for you for the RSA?
Well, viewers of the last video probably know mine's a Clat de Rire, and I could go on for about 5 minutes again about him like I did last time. But yeah, I'd suggest watching the last video if you want to hear my full reasoning for him. And he's now 40-1 because Bet365 seemed to push him out immediately after I tipped him. So what that tells you, I'm not sure, but they clearly don't have faith in my ability to pick a winner.
The final question comes from Tony Malum, and he would like to know what our thoughts are on Adagio for the Triumph and Rouge Vif for the Champion Chase. I'll start by saying Adagio most probably rates as the main British hope at this point. I would say that most probably says more about the British contenders than anything else, and I would be surprised if he could win a Triumph, but maybe a place at best. What would be your thoughts on Adagio?
I really like him, to be honest. I find it hard to warm to many juveniles just because you're not sure where they're going to go afterwards. But for all that he was beaten by Duffel-Coat, who was giving him £5 on the day, he was almost pretty much mugged, I think, just by the stronger stayer in what was a bit of a weird race that day. And the thing is with juveniles, you have to remember is that they improve probably more markedly throughout the season than any other. So the form you'll often see will get reversed through the season. And albeit Duffel-Coat won't be Gordon Elliott's leading juvenile, I think he's improved leaps and bounds since that start. And you have to be impressed with the way he won last time out. And to be honest, I think he's a really solid each-way prospect at the moment in the Triumph. And he's a horse I actually have a lot of time for.
We'll get a good idea of that form because is it Nasalam for Gary
Moore?
Yeah,
Gary Moore horse.
The second. He's set to run at a Cheltenham race, Cheltenham Trials Day, very soon. I think I was reading before we got on here. So that could give the form a good look to it as well. So that'll be interesting to see how that one plays out. And Rouge Vif for the Champion Chase. Dan, what's your thoughts on Rouge Vif?
Yeah, I was surprised to hear him, a specific question about him. He kind of just needs good ground, doesn't need to be at his best. That handicap win earlier in the season of 156, that was a really impressive performance. And a repeat of that puts him in with each way claims in a week renewal. I would just say, I think at 25-1 at the moment he is. I think you're probably just best served waiting to the day if you're keen on backing him. If the ground's going to be good to soft, like on the good side, maybe decent each way chances there, sneaking into a place. I think you can forgive his last run with the yard just being out of form, but he has something to find to challenge with the best of these.
I have very similar notes to that. I've got him down as a nice horse, but he is quite ground dependent. I wouldn't want to be getting stuck into him Ante-post because obviously we don't know what the ground's going to be like. But as you say, on the day, any sort of good to soft ground, he could have a fair each way chance. On the topic of the Champion Chase, we're going to get into the selections, the Ante-post picks for Cheltenham, and my pick is for the Champion Chase. I'm absolutely prepared for the stick that I will no doubt be receiving for this selection. I'll start by talking about the favourite, Chacun Pour Soi. He's currently teetering on the edge of even money, maybe even money with these non-Renault bets starting to happen. If he turns up, which is quite likely, he's going to be very, very tough to beat. He has some fantastic form in the book, and his jumping is incredible. But I think there's some each way value to be had. It's not with Politolog for me. He's been rejuvenated the last couple of seasons with new tactics, whether that be running from the front and this fresh angle as well. But I think you can pick holes in his form. I think it's fair to say that last year's Champion Chase did fall apart, and the Tingle Creek wasn't exactly a vintage renewal, in my opinion. I am going to let you take a guess at my selection, Dan, but I'm going to give you some clues to help you along the way.
Superb, thank you.
So my horse is an 8-year-old, a 2-time festival winner. He reached a career high mark of 170 just last season, and he's a 7-time Grade 1 winner. Do you know who he is?
You know, on about Bouvardere?
No, I'm not on about Bouvardere. No? Same colours though.
Same colours as Bouvardere. You've stumped me, to be honest. I'm completely caught off guard here. Go on. I'm so interested in this. Go on.
Defi de Seuil.
Oh, Jesus.
Currently
forgot about him.
Currently priced up at 20-1. I think that's absolutely huge. We will know our fate with him next week in the Clarence House Chase, the 23rd. He'll be looking to bounce back in a race that he dominated last year. He absolutely battered under Seuil, and he got that mark of 170. There is really no explanation for his flop in the Champion Chase, other than the yard were out of form in March last year. They only managed 3 wins from 32 runs. And the same can be said about Hobbs's runners when he had his reappearance run as well. In November 2020, they managed 9 wins from 76 runners. And in October 2020, they had 6 winners from 69. I also do remember Defi bombing out as a novice chaser at that same trial meeting before going on to improve incredible amounts and win the JLT. I also think he won another graded race along the way. I think it's the Silly Isles, but being lost in translation. He has some incredible form in the book, and it's not like this form's really old either. It was only last season. Depending on his Clarence House Chase, we'll either know we'll know our fate. He'll either be half the price or double the price. At the moment, 20-1 each way. That's going to be my selection.
Right. Well, yeah. When you said you were probably going to get ripped into for this one before, I think you're pretty much right with that. I just don't know how you can have any faith in him at all. Like, if he was going to win a Champion Chase, last year was the year. He was awful. Like, just one of the more disappointing performances you'll probably ever see from such a short price favourite. I think, is he even going to necessarily go here, do you think? I thought maybe they'd consider stepping him up in trip, which had probably been a possibility for a while, given, well, the Jet, as you say, was a March winner. I thought the Ryanair might be more a target, potentially. I just don't know with him, really. Where do you stand? Like,
it all sort of depends on his run in the Clarence House Chase. He's going to be facing Politolog, so a horse who's right at the top of the market for the Champion Chase. And I could see him definitely shortening if he were to even run a very creditable race. I think I'm banking on him returning to form in that Clarence House Chase, and that's where the angle lies with him.
Was he 20-1? You say
20-1. Yeah,
well, obviously, if he beats Politolog, you'll look enlightened and like a genius. But I think that's going to be a stretch. I mean, that's going to be a tough ask given his last couple of runs against a horse who's in the absolute form of his life. Yeah, you've really thrown me with that one. I can't believe I've heard the words Defi de Seuil uttered. I can't remember the last time anyone mentioned Defi de Seuil.
I sent you a message earlier this week, and I said you're going to be disgusted in me for my selection, and I think I've lived up to that.
When I said Bouvardere, like when you mentioned the thing, obviously the age thing, I completely missed that pointer for some reason, but I could argue more of a case for Bouvardere than probably Defi de Seuil. And we haven't seen Bouvardere in a year, and last time he had a big splint hanging out of his leg. So that kind of shows you the faith I have in Defi de Seuil. But hey, sometimes you've got to take these chances. As you say, there's a reason for it, at least. If his run next time out is good, then you're going to have a decent price about him. I mean, his target will probably be finalised. But I struggle to see it personally, and I'm sure many viewers will as well.
Yeah, everyone starts clicking off. All right, who's your selection going to be for this week's Ante-post?
Oh, I calm myself down after hearing that. Just wow. So yeah, we're going into handicaps now. We've had a week. We can go into the handicaps for a bit. And a race that's been kind to me in the past, and maybe a bit cruel last year. The Kim Muir, one of my favourite races. I'm so glad they didn't get rid of it. So just a couple of trends to begin with. So 10 of the last 13 winners failed to win a race in the season before winning the Kim Muir. 8 of the last 10 wore headgear, and 8 of the last 12 had run at a previous festival. And the horse that my selection is Coko Beach, who's 33-1 currently, fits all of those trends. So it was second in the Fred Winter back in 2019. Don't take much stock in that form, really. Fred Winter form's hard to trust. But what probably impressed me more was the fact he finished 9th in the Coral Cup last year off a mark 145. Now, the Coral Cup is a handicap I hold quite in high regard. Like, it's generally quite a good race. You see plenty of good horses beating in it or going close. And to do that, it was a better run than just 9th sounds. So he was coming to the second last. He was still bang there with chance. He was staying on. And he got absolutely sideswiped at the second last by a horse who jumped across him. And that ended any chance he had of getting competitive. But he stayed on quite impressively to the line, like a horse who probably relish a bit further these days. And to do that as a last year's juvenile off mark 145, I thought was quite impressive. So he's made a decent start to chasing this year without getting his head in front. He was only beaten 3/4 of a length on his chase debut by the Grade 2 winner and subsequent Grade 1 runner-up, Pencil Full of Lead, over 2 miles 6 furlongs. And he didn't really look short of stamina that day, for all of his starts really to date have come over intermediate trips. He didn't lose that race to Pencil Full of Lead for a lack of stamina. So that bodes well for his chances of staying the trip in the Kim Muir. He was out of depth in the Drimore when behind Envoy Land, 4 for 4. Happy to put a line through that, just given the quality of the winner. Better at Nace next time out, second there, with next time out winner Longhouse Poet back in third. And he was last seen out at Fairy House when a close third, pegged back by Forza Milan, who stayed on strongly in what was quite a quick run race. So it was, I think, only a second slower than the Grade 3 mares on the same card, but all of the horses in Coko Beach races were carrying more than the stone more. So that adds up quite well. And it's quite interesting, actually, the 2020 winner of the Kim Muir was Milan Native. And Milan Native was 4th in that very same novice chase. I think he had a couple more starts afterwards before going on to win the Kim Muir. So maybe you can read a bit into that. Maybe it's just coincidence, but still, they both went off favourite for that novice chase. Both ran with credit. So there might be something in that. He doesn't have a racing over fences in Ireland yet. His mark over hurdles is 141, but he hasn't achieved something like that over fences yet. I'd imagine with one more run, which will probably be over an intermediate trip again, a decent performance, probably see him get a mark of 136, something in that mid 130s ballpark, which will see him comfortably qualified for the Kim Muir, given the allowance that the British Handicap normally takes with the Irish runners. So he's completely unexposed over staying trips. He had one start over 3 miles in his career over hurdles. He's held in 4th when falling in what was a really competitive race. He didn't look to really be staying on strongly, but I think you need to remember that he was just a 4-year-old running in an open Grade B level handicap. And the Jam Man was first, a 2A Permies was second, and they were running off marks 122, 128 respectively. And obviously both of them have gone on to do much more. And in 4th that day was a certain Cider Burley. So it was a really, really solid race, and he was not disgraced by any account. And like Milan Native last year, he's Gordon Elliott trained, Gigginstown owned. Gordon Elliott's won 2 of the last 5 renewals of this race. He had a placed horse in 2018 as well, and his handicap record of Cheltenham is just phenomenal. Now, interestingly, Gigginstown and Gordon Elliott also have Run Wild Fred and Farclass, who currently head the market for this race. Run Wild Fred has been almost a bit of a hype handicap horse for this. I just can't see it. He's becoming very frustrating, and he's almost reminding me like Blow by Blow, how he became. Like, you can see the talents there, and he had great hurdle form, but he's just becoming very frustrating over fences. And it's not as if he's hiding in plain sight almost, because they put blinkers on him last time, and he had to be driven at the start, had a reminder before they even got to the first fence. I just think he's becoming quite lazy. And I wouldn't really be keen on him in a competitive handicap like this, given those downs. For all that I can see, the argument about his rating and the ability being there. And Farclas currently has a mark 143 in Ireland. And given he's a former Triumph hurdle winner, he's probably going to get too much weight to even make the 0 to 145 allowance in the Kim Muir. So taking those two out, I think Gigginstown and Gordy Elliott's best chance in the Kim Muir is going to be Coko Beach. He's completely unexposed at the trip, and he shapes, I think, like a horse who probably wants it now. As he's in these juvenile days and last season, you can make excuse for him not staying 3 miles or not getting the trip. But as we know, as these horses mature, often they want a bit more of a trip, a bit more of a stamina test. And I think now's the time to capitalise on it. So yeah, Coko Beach in the Kim Muir, another 33 to 1 chance. Bet 365 will probably go 40s immediately after this is posted. But yeah, it's my first handicap bet on this series, and I'm looking forward to it.
From one sloppy made argument from myself, that was so brilliantly put. I can't really pick holes in it because I haven't even looked at the Kim Muir. For me, looking at the handicaps is too early. But yeah,
Kim, what first race you should always look at is a Kim Muir. Absolutely love it.
Maybe with a track record like you have, then yeah, maybe so.
Kilfillan broke my heart last year, but he's another one. He's 33 to 1 for this race. He loves it. Second in it a couple of times. Like he can get, you wouldn't rule him out, although maybe his chance has gone. But no, I think Coko Beach is really solid. I just hope they run him here. Obviously, he's got the option of probably going for the plate. I think he'd probably get swept off his feet in that race, to be honest. I don't think he's naturally quick enough in what is generally a much better quality race. I think they should pull the trigger on the 3 mile experiment, get him over a staying trip. I think he'll stay now. As I say, that run behind Pencil Full of Lead, he wasn't stopping at the finish over an extended 2 mile 6. This will be a different ask, but for me, he looks like a horse who probably wants it now.
Brilliant. Fantastic, Dan. Thank you very much for another cracking 33 to 1 anti-post bet for you guys. Well, that is going to wrap up episode 2. Hopefully, we get some good value from those two there. I'm hoping Defi de Seuil will be able to relight his the fire with himself. Anyway, that is going to wrap up episode 2. I do hope you enjoyed the video. We'll be bringing out another one next week, so keep tuned for that. And also, the betting heat will be out on Friday. Thank you very much, guys. Catch you later on.